En wala banarwach ke tin batch tin jokon ke ay kor ti chano kontine akuma kirmi yadit en kor le roda en tamare dwaran ki tere dana tuok kam dan konwari ke kuma jani marwai ke kimente pin selpa kirmi yadit chala riek medira longa kon ja point dan che chup kon wari kura tuoge kurmi bej she kurmi me de lara mi tek tiak kurmi bat ke yinatin nakagat nakamen nakewuni teram palke mishak jina rami mo lanwer jin target kaka keneten konti naka kon were mabana janyal ka jen rajame shi politik ka shi ko e langarwada ke power danan te keneten konti te wena mo shit ke kumkir mi yadit mlat ka mentama a history kana tada antele na marka je kana obnarin ngajeno kana ngani ko yen mumkin roduno ko yen ngani la beje mat enyop adwo badan de kon survive ke je kede kon te ke je kon charnware kana boda dana sha kam kon kuma jani marai ke kirmi yadit riem dan kon were ajen kwala let we Sudan ne Michigan kon telemede shortly South Sudan and Tamamurai kono. Sha independent charge de jek kon kum South Sudan jek independent ke 2011 chairman ngai kona. Ano ba je kule cholo no jene which ki ba chonkarwa da ba chole younger nation akwidan kone de kono shol kenware Michigan kon telemede shol South Sudan and Tamamurai and self-determination chata adakeng machar no bana shonkoro dan ka bukor ngaje no ko kon ngani amtok ka cha plan ba adakeng machar ko beto wana ko ram no go bena shonkoro dien bena roi karo dien aram gwa gorje ne to de ngaje no ko na ngani idea mo lo ke je lok jang kana ngum kana idea kana ben kana ken yama enega naka kone ne rungwala keno nakakon ka kwida krema char ko konda krema char ko kon support ngu chi konda krema char chi kon pel ka jama kenyam ne tin kon ti la duar kon cha history cha parwich an ko me shi kor kam nuare kan nuar du me kam nuare kan nuar don are ma char kula ga ma kan nuare de ende kulo yen nuare ngu cha lo juno ngu cha we tedo ka da krema char de na kulo jogo no bana me e wud janka nang nuare mo ko nuare ko wala target ika kwi ko shunken kel dak macha so jin nuare mo muraje no ngumuti lo dumbu makareng machar bi ngaje reng machar nuare mi shitkan nuare ko ken chera mo ne kin yadi te jang ka jang ken so ko jang ken ko kana support ana so ko kwi mo ano ba so Sudan ba je jek riem dan ko nuare me je ka so Sudan ne dial te ken ka ngat ano ci wëccaro do ko gene ideal all communities janga men nuari men dor ko ken ji Equatoria ci loy na tete de long shagi jeno nene karun dial te kon decades of war re kori ci loy na tete de no sha freedom charge je finally ci na ko chung alakel amen bana ko focus ten ke bicharna dial ba ka channel ten ke ba latin bala development kana ki mal ka mandana de na mad ko skel kana to ko rodien gatir kono ci dot dumdo nene internal political struggle ci betwok re kuma ka moray ke kira wujeno chaje ku jek cha kwa independent meno dien la do the wodi Binatin kon tela jiwich tin kune di ala shui ka kwiden ko buga take freedom buga ku ben nyur ka kwarken kel ba kwer mu jidid ba je ku kwany an kwer jidid mo jen bu wich kulo rajon be development be kulo no na mo me cha gujeno de wich de je ger de kwer de je ger sha ku boko bom woje through election through voting ki brama kwer no lo de je be je kwany chura meda ne cha kulo kwanwi kwa malakir mi yadit me cha joguno limnitin ke 2005 me chi John Garende mabir me chi yede jien ki me chelu chu ponde kir ke 2011 me cha independent cha bijek cha jogbo no tenetin amani mi chi kwen kwar je chop plan eda ne cha lat o de queen kwade jalat ke 2015 mekire no chetok chechop ajaron kelkarwa 2013 wadaga 2014 da chwa ajaron kelkarwa la 2015 shukir me yadi chogoro bakor bejetok baramadan en gujeno la challenge kaje kiramdan gujeno te ka bom te ka power kade je wuch bejadil tograr karama moni terada dien ger doctor yek machar First by President Dr. Machar jelari ko ke kirmi yadi de Ramadan and Tim Kire long and a mone chonkel ka national election shana blank ko and Dr. Machar a popular long like jene dia ono kwer de development there jenong there corruption there je wuch de ne dia there ka mat gwatkel dinon wana mo kirmi yadi chab luko no bi mission mo batuok ke 2013 ronkin dangre duwel jok ke jen pay wero e banwer kula ne ke je ju disagreement yo to kamdien disagreement mo chikir mi adi chelo no de dak mo chade ro chunke der campaign der jala no bro chung ko je dak mo char chela no chikir che vision kene mission dunga SPLA je bat si jen tay dana jel na ka je me jel na ka je jel na zen wo woj ba je develop woj ba je lat we balere la democracy country alo binedi albuga te lo albuga te freedom ko jene ku so Sudanese ku kan ko ter ke ja ke jene ku nalte dor ke ja shawi ben jango bina le bina kwan kane ken dino ken kirmiya di no kirmiya di jene na kala kwan ka to that disagreement you wona ko be ko to ke jene kwan wel na ke 2013 December 15, December 16, we nega December 20, may shall more than 40,000 Nuer civilian chaka massacred re which kajupa. A girl weng can tit kuben ki whatever militia they shall use a jang no cha train kapin koken by the way a secret soldier cha train a kirma yadi cha jogono kwaya ngeje lo targa dana nuware tel nuware bana pel many me chikin yadi chodor je to buno enen wana kaja across Juba jwan nuware ya ganak nagadit ram chicken chor lanka unimis ram chicken chengo ke dini kel wana tul rar ne idoliken pele chapel na ju kormo yoretin jwana ya ganak tel nuware mit tagalwanga ne ka gwaze dare yiki Juba ko sene medan mega dak mo char kene kir changa jeno dong de nuwa de galo target dung do me chikir mi adi dala chegu jeno ba nor ba ga dil gonu gone kene contacten all their areas to ko kamra dule jen ku kon le ngaje no chana chaknak rin widit ne di ale contacten chikan no mo chikan nen chikone di ale kon chana kanen chikone di alling kon chana kaling tetana da chupten katana da kan ga chupten jen kon rajen wale ko chit ko tetana che kan o chikan tenen gwadamo te katana da yijen lo we ka den ko ko lo jok da domne ko bi kanten kon lar ko len kan ko lat me chikem yadi chana chakanak jureng ma char cho jorar janwari yonak jen wararno na me chuchu kam dinka kenen Nuer communities lo kam jan kenen wore so jen ta dan ci wandi aru en lat keje ka gwase dan ere kuramo ci pengu di ca wepin ci jang ci ka liu ko liam dit ci Nuer ba ci ka liu ko liam dit. But that 2013 January cha target Nuer civilian cha target ke juba ka jen conflict mo ke termone ka jen conflict ke kem yadi chain season no balat ka bane ken baga chol alien la ko lara no mi ke 1991 choro bulu you mean that choro prepared already and over Nuer baga ne ko ram laro chabit ke 1991 we mean that they were ready tiren jagre di ke chigen dini kan ga trend no makan ngaj bo ne ko ken no de so Sudan der la wure irika kada da la ka termal ina ngai gino don ki so Sudan jo tega mal but chi jan plan let kirm yadi plan o Nuer kana jang bo nyom ko divide gwi jan o Nuer ba kanak but plan da che kono no bi ka konte ke dini ka pin ko yo di alte tit kada order te ke je ka nyong ne ngwan ka Nuer chi ka lat ci ka la relatan te la no ci mal ci uben ne di alkuna enjoy te ram charu te kun de tok wal kire bizu gwad mod ko plan ko lat we but te ga jaka power ke but jenga jare kwara ashu Nuer yu nak chirman chananga kondial kajan ben civil war nga tugo ma e kum kirmi yadit so right now ci conflict le jien chele la political chele we kam dori allo kadur nagro diena Raina mulai ko nan teme ci mar kam Nuer kana jang ci la becc cien mare danela na roj banare kel ci tega min chalke mistrust ko trust has broken already community sicken le feel no can it can serve ko right now ne ko on shuje lunga civilian kan kwa target ka korundi ala to January shaka target de ne kem yadit de ne ka kir shaka liom ga Uganda People Defense Force she other tribe jet ke ne rishalgati ted ber murle di wona ka ji Equatoria ka dor ko ken wona ka chaine she ka influence no Nuer chana ka nak can this is small tribe take ka issue no won kan Nuer ko take ka border kan duro tiende ti chirke tat kan bar kumurle no te gerik la ogla ka nanga kwal ka gat ka nyi na ka kwimone ngai kan ngai je in fact no ne ti bi kan del chonga je kel ka bi kan manana gore de lat kan bi kan de lat som gi kona me chan wer cha target so jem len kona tame me dan me ko me tuong me cha mal cha nyom lat je den chirek ma cha che te rek cha mal cha accept cha jo ko wer ka juba 2015 je wega juba 2016 ci kore ro de nyok wana ka je choro yo bare ro chao yene ka South Africa jagu jino dong che bele nyok lu njok me cha nyo chole no ma latke 2018 peace agreement cha tan ko cha nga je no me latke kim yad ko divine na chamane na from that moment ci kim yad che goro ben wer ba target ke ba divide then cho yodial oil revenue goro baka direct baka channel ka corruption yan kula take embezzlement ala yana alingin o take billion of US dollar te ta chama kum kirmi yadi de o ti diale wukan ka machu kan ka weapon koken mercenaries soldiers koken di Uganda koken ne di India koken winde koken ko ba korin ba jeter koken manages Sudan la turboro ne so dial ti gri aplan kirmi yadi so right now ko chukuma SPLA yo charge bichak 2015 me janlu jare wi charge ko no choldu ndu SPLA yo la Sudan People Liberation Movement in opposition so choy chak choy chole SPLA yo and then go to SPLA agitaten golka ne re content chit nyong mti kan la in government so na me she division che create mangai kona she rol che jeno so ne diala konte chajo chere kore dan kene ga dan sha nang na chiru ne tan wan chi chi chuan kel ke kuma SPLA yo ko gui kan no jen kum me be na rar me na kana so chi dil chongtin so large population te ka kuma SPLA yo So kuja mo shi poinde en kuma SPLA yo chu base long gwa dan tin wata katan lagan chwa take base niken katu kuma kem yadi bate ke base niken chime ya mala ata tiken ke base niken tene take base niken but intention dia nana kamat kane de kontela yes SPDF Chengman lat konan wo kan kane de motet tekel kan wori la mission dia na very clear destroy Nuer community, destroy SPLIO. A cattle power can work, but important thing again. And Nuer taken ke Nuer Y army. Nuer Y army teleka base, a teleka leader, a teleko take a office. There's no office. Like a really jay gwaldan to Korean, Michigan, life didn't she threaten, but then Jajan back Korma by hotel. So could you money Nuer to one? I know. Chigani guje no malatke kumkir miyadi chalariak ni nantam right now changan wer ngwan chigadinya chigan te kum SSPDF yun ndial ka halt te kare wete gangana oken ke chi manaken ban mishi ben roku wala threaten she kev ka bom ka power dan gujin pon jin ramamo bi ngaje no bi mandan te ka binen man wal dan te ka bi te da binen ba within so mi chit kana me de kono ne na wodi Nuer chicken to me the chair right now. But again, kill me, I did good targeting call ladder. Ko nega Nuer ki ko Nuer ko kef. So Germany and Tamaku Kumuku now ko target. Ko rune and the alaconitary Kumaka the tongue of me, chin where chicken to thin. A brave Nuerman, ki strong Nuerman chicken take a kumade. So cool guru baganak, the duro con ticketin. Kacha quere charge loco quere, and jacketin a lea. Kana koko bana baga kok there's nothing good there ka kum kirm yadit a corruption karwade sin economic jek na tele job question malat ke ko ste dial cha ka channel ke cha channel ka dore kula tin ne ko de kel ge la lo yal ke je kan kula me don ka $1,000 mo je ka kana wo beneten kon la jitan wer baga ko bu no kula onak samba no baga target kum kirm yadit jen ka siyasa ke politik and name chala dundur kana dor mi bukume mi kem yadit ko ne ngala kana e kere chan wore na no mi kem yadit muko targane SPLIO base daragwa ngala ajen ka buga na bukan ko bukarenyal wukan bungne ne de kontin tin kulela civilian shi te kono to so na mo jen dan luka kuma SPLIO keredi mugur kan koren de ka kode kana ter but kum kem yadi targa de ko targa nan ware shi wote bab ne dialo ne to ka SPLIO so ne war mu ce jeg ne je tret ke je be din na ka jem ne yana tama we dan we je kalong so gor kono ban dan ngaje no ko kon ngane ba report be je kwen ya ka ta dan en cha no ngaje ko biya ko le te ka ngech mrong ka tin kono to. Today we must speak about a painful and complex issue, the ongoing tension and conflict between sections of the Nuer community and the government of South Sudan under President Salva Kiir Mayardit. This is not a simple story. It is not just politics. It is not just power. It is about history, mistrust, identity, survival, and the deep wound that have shaped the young nation since independence. When South Sudan signed independence in 2011, there was hope across all communities. People believed that freedom from decades of war would bring unity, development, and peace. But within South Sudan, SPLM party, internal political struggle soon began to surface within the ruling leadership. By December 2013, political disagreement inside the government escalated into violence. What started as a power struggle between leaders quickly took on ethnic dimension, particularly between Dinka and Nuer communities. Many Nuer civilians were targeted during the early days of the conflict in Juba. This created deep fear and anger. In response, army opposition group emerged and the country descended into civil war. The conflict was no longer just political. It became a communal trust broke down. Communities feel unsafe. Civilians pay the price. Over the years, there have been repeated accusations that government forces or affiliated militias have targeted Nuer areas during military operation in places like Apenal, Jonglei, and Unity State. These are areas that are inhabited by the Nuer community. Fighting between government forces and opposition groups has often taken place in areas populated largely by the Nuer civilians. From the perspective of many in the Nuer community, these operations are not seen as purely military action against army opposition group. They are perceived as a collective punishment or targeting of an entire community. On the other hand, the government maintained, that its actions are directed at army group challenging state authority, not at civilian or ethnic communities. This difference in perception is at the heart of the mistrust. The conflict has also involved opposition forces, including factions aligned with the Sudan People Liberation Army in opposition. These groups have fought government forces in various regions. In many cases, civilians are caught between two sides. Villages become battlefield, infrastructure is destroyed, families are displaced, livelihood collapse. When conflict occurs in Nuer majority areas and civilians suffer, anger grows. Communities began to believe they are being deliberately targeted, even when military leaders claim they are fighting army group. The result is a cycle of accusation and retaliation. The biggest victim of this conflict are not politicians, they are civilians, women, children, elderly people. When villages are attacked or burned, it is ordinary families who lost home. When water sources are destroyed, it is civilians who work hard to find clean water. When cattle are looted, it is families who lost their economic survival. Displacement camps have grown. Food insecurity has increased. Many young people have grown up knowing only conflict. For the Nuer community, repeated violence in their area has reinforced a belief that the state and the President Salva Kiir Mayardit or Dinka government is failing to protect them equally. This feeling of marginalization fuels resentment and anger. Another major concern raised by critics is political inclusion. Some argue that political power in South Sudan has been concentrated in ways that leave other communities feeling excluded or underrepresented. When communities feel politically marginalized, tension increases. If political disputes are not handled through dialogue, they can easily turn violent. In fragile state, leadership decisions matter greatly. Word matter, appointment matter, fair distribution of resources matter. In any community, feel that it is being silenced, trust in national unity weakens. One of the most dangerous aspects of this conflict is when it becomes framed as community versus community. When a political struggle is interpreted as an ethnic war, reconciliation becomes harder. It is important to distinguish between government policies and action, army opposition activities, and the broader civilian population. No entire community should be blamed for the action of leader or army group. Collective blame deepens division and prolongs suffering. For peace to be possible in South Sudan, accountability must exist. If civilians are harmed, investigation must be transparent and credible. Justice must not be selective. Impunity creates future violence. Community need to see that the state protect all citizens equally, regardless of ethnicity. Without accountability, mistrust grows. South Sudan has attempted several peace agreements over the years. Some progress has been made, but implementation has often been slow or incomplete. And the government under President Salva Kiir Mayardit has to be blamed. Peace requires more than signature on paper. It requires political will, security sector reform, inclusion of diverse voices, protection of civilian, and economic opportunity. Communities like the Nuer must feel safe, represented, and heard within the national structure. Leadership carries enormous responsibility. Leaders must speak in a way that reduces tension, not inflame it. They must prioritize unity over political survival. They must recognize the fear of communities and address them sincerely. If communities believe they are being targeted, that perception also can destabilize the country, even if intentions differ. The solution is not more force, it is more trust building. South Sudan is still a young nation. It has the opportunity to redefine its future. The path forward requires protecting civilians in all regions without discrimination, rebuilding trust between communities, ensuring political inclusion across ethnic lines, strengthening rule of law and accountability, and promoting reconciliation at grassroots level. The Nuer community, like every other community, deserved security, dignity, and equal citizenship. At the same time, peace cannot come through further division. It must come through a shared vision of nationhood. If conflict continues, everyone loses. Children lose education, families lose livelihood, community lose stability, the nation loses its future. The question facing South Sudan is not which group will dominate. The question is whether the country can move beyond cycle of mistrust and violence. True strength is not found in defeating fellow citizens. It is found in building a nation where all citizens feel protected and valued. In conclusion, the tension between sections of the Nuer community and the government are rooted in painful story, political competition, and deep mistrust. But this story does not have to define the future. Peace requires courage, the courage to admit mistake, to protect civilians, to hold perpetrators accountable, and to include all communities in governance. South Sudan's future depends on unity, built on justice, not fear. The suffering of civilians must end. The targeting of communities must stop, and a national healing must begin. Only then can lasting peace become possible in South Sudan.